Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into a really beautiful unificationist perspective on marriage preparation today. You know, for the younger generation trying to navigate today's crazy, complex world, building that ideal family is, well, it's a balancing act. It takes this incredible, deep spiritual devotion, but also, and this is absolutely crucial, some very grounded, practical healing.
So let's kick things off with a pretty tough question that a lot of young couples actually face. Imagine you're stepping into a relationship with massive spiritual expectations. When you genuinely believe your marriage is meant to literally help save the world, is prayer, fasting, and studying theology alone going to be enough to overcome everyday human relationship struggles? It's a heavy question, right?
The divine purpose of marriage. Let's look at the absolute foundation of this vision.
For those who might be a little newer to the work of the founders, let's talk about the blessing. In the Unificationist vision, getting married isn't just a personal milestone like updating your relationship status. It's actually a divine mission. The teaching shows that marriage is this essential step to restore God's original ideal, create a true family, and ultimately bring peace to the entire world.
So the stakes are incredibly high, but so are the hopes. Couples are encouraged to live these lives of profound emotional and spiritual growth, requiring deep devotion, filial piety, and real faith in true parents. But here's the catch. This high spiritual ideal sets an amazing, soaring, ultimate destination. But the journey to actually get there? That requires us to honestly and bravely look at exactly where we started our lives on a strictly human level.
Your family of origin. And this brings us to what is so frequently an overlooked obstacle in faith-based marriage prep. Because even with the strongest faith imaginable, we all inherit unseen emotional habits from our parents and caregivers. From childhood, our early experiences silently shape how we expect relationships to work. They shape our entire worldview. If a child experiences, say, inconsistent care, they can develop anxious or avoidant habits. And those unseen expectations, they can severely hinder our capacity for real intimacy later in life.
Unhealthy family dynamics can trigger us to build these massive psychological walls to protect ourselves from the pain of feeling unloved. We're talking about heavy defense mechanisms, things like denial, intellectualization, or projection. And the hard truth we have to face is that spiritual practices alone often just aren't enough to break down these deeply ingrained protective habits.
Healing unseen emotional wounds. To overcome these barriers, we have to build a holistic bridge between our heavenly ideals and our everyday human reality.
It really comes down to a two-hands approach to marriage preparation. Picture this. One hand is reaching up for God's grace through faith, prayer, fasting, and profound devotion. That's your spiritual focus. But the other hand? The other hand has to reach out for practical secular education. Things like understanding attachment theory, building emotional intelligence, learning communication skills, and even going to counseling. You need both hands working together to truly grow your capacity to love.
And this ties directly into the core unificationist teaching of fulfilling our human portion of responsibility. God's grace is always there, always available, but breaking unhealthy generational cycles requires us to actively learn relationship skills. Inviting God into the healing process doesn't mean just sitting back and passively waiting for a miracle, It means rolling up our sleeves and doing the emotional heavy lifting ourselves, too.
Communication and conflict resolution. Let's look at how all this actually plays out in probably the hardest area of any marriage to master. We have these beautiful biblical anchors, right? Ephesians and James tell us to speak the truth in love, to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. They remind us that managing conflict with humility and patience is literally fulfilling God's mandate for our lives. But actually living those words out in the heat of an argument, that is a completely different story.
This is the modeling effect in action. If your childhood home modeled criticism or avoidance, if you grew up in a house full of yelling or the silent treatment, it becomes incredibly difficult to live out those biblical communication principles without some conscious relearning. Let's be real, seeking secular relationship tools doesn't mean your faith is weak. It just means you are wise enough to grab the right tools to build a truly God-centered partnership.
Building a joyful partnership. Ultimately, the entire goal of all this preparation is to break free from those old patterns.
A truly joyful, contemporary, blessed marriage recognizes that both partners hold complete, equal dignity before God. It requires absolute mutual respect and a shared partnership that genuinely reflects Christ's self-giving love.
It's about creating this safe space where both spouses use their unique strengths not just to make each other happy, but to bring that light and goodness out into wider society.
So, to make this super actionable for your blessing preparation, here's a clear roadmap. Step 1, raise your awareness. Really look at your emotional patterns and wounds. Step 2, don't be afraid to seek secular counseling or get mentoring from mature, blessed couples who model healthy dynamics. And step 3, seamlessly integrate those practical, new communication skills right into your prayer life. Connect the practical with the spiritual.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. Pursuing God's will in your marriage is always going to lack balance if we completely ignore our human psychology. True preparation means embracing both your magnificent divine potential and your grounded, everyday human reality. So, looking at your own life right now, how will you invite both God and practical healing into your relationship today?